Hi, I'm Dr. Marraccini.
I'm your professional fitness coach, Roy Jeffery.
And we are Menno Strong.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Menno Strong, where strength meets science. I am your co-host, Roy Jeffery, fitness professional.
Hi, I'm Linda Marraccini, a family practice physician. Today we're going to focus on the importance of strength at all ages, because we've been incorporating strength as well as the medical issues that impact perimenopause and menopause. Today we're going to focus on key areas of strength, not all the areas, but key areas. To start with, we're going to address the neck and shoulders. This is very important with regard to strength and mobility. The shoulders become a key problem as people get older, men and women. The shoulders have a decrease in range of motion and pain that goes along with that. And with that is the neck area. The shoulders really connect to the neck muscles, the trapezius muscles, and then all the shoulder muscles of the rotator cuff. It's very important that we keep range of motion and strength as we get older, and we keep working those muscles and doing it in a symmetrical fashion. Roy, can you comment on that?
Well, what's very important is making sure that you have a level of flexibility to avoid tightness in your neck and shoulder. When you mentioned about as we age, the shoulders become an issue, this is an explanation that I give my clients all the time, because sometimes, at some point during the week when training with me, they're going to work shoulders. And I have this one machine, overhead press, and they wonder why is it so hard, and they hate that particular machine, because this is a machine that forces them to push overhead. And that is not a very comfortable feeling for us as human beings. Like, we never put anything outside of our height above head unless we're trying to hide it from someone, or we're trying to prevent our children from getting to it. Otherwise, we're going to always put something where we can reach it. And because of that, over time, we don't do this enough. We don't reach overhead very often unless it's for something specifically for that. You know, you think about it. You don't put stuff out of reach for you because it's uncomfortable. And because of that lack of usage, they end up being very weak. They end up being very inflexible. And these are some areas that you probably get a lot of when it comes to surgery, having shoulder injuries because of tightness and some crazy way of maneuvering. But it's important that you develop some flexibility and strength in that area, because like Dr. Marraccini was saying, it connects from the shoulder on up to the neck area. And so doing, things such as simple as doing chest stretches, like between the door hinges where you have your arms here and you're opening up your chest. Things as simple as doing that whenever, you feel the opportunity. And don't just do it when you're hurt. You do it when you're not hurt, so that you don't hurt later. And the other thing is, just don't overdo it. Just do it right at the point to where you feel uncomfortable, not to the point where it's hurting you or you're going to practically hurt yourself. So that is also a very important thing. Doing your neck stretches in certain directions, and you're holding it, not to the point where you just try to crack your neck, but just we're going left to right. We go up in angles here, going down as well, and doing those neck stretches are important as well, because you'll be stretching the trap areas as you turn to the opposite direction. So that is very important when it comes to working those shoulders. Very important.
Well, and a couple of things is, a lot of people are working on computers all day, so they're staying in this plane and they never do anything out of this plane. A couple of things happen. One, people tend to do things with one arm. So a lot of you out there have grandkids, they're picking them up with one arm, and they don't ever work the other side. So symmetry is very important. Start using learning to use the other side so you develop symmetry, but that you should be working out. People think, oh, well, I garden, but they're gardening with one side, or they vacuum in their house with one arm. So you've got to try to have some symmetry, but at the same time, do some working out that you are developing symmetry equally on both sides, and this way you're less likely to hurt yourself. I see people that they grab a bag or I always grab some woman's purse when they come in, and I can't believe how heavy their purses are, and they're slinging it over one shoulder. So that's important to either decompress those purses or alternate what side you have the purses on. A while back, the Japanese developed these houses where they had everything hanging just like the pots and pans, everything hanging on hooks. So you had to reach up and grab everything, so it forced you to put your arms up. And then lastly, physical therapists will tell you that once you injure your shoulder, you shouldn't be doing weights. You really have to go back to the basics of range of motion exercises, because if you start saying, oh, I hurt my shoulder, I'm going to do some weights, you're actually going to aggravate or tear further that rotator cuff. So the shoulders are really important. We see them more so, get shot to hell after age 50. Also, diabetics are more likely to have shoulder problems. So, we want to prevent this. So prevention is working out your shoulders, working them out symmetrically so you can prevent the natural sequela, which is that they're going to get weaker as we get older. From there, we're going to go on to abs and core, really important. So your abdominal muscles, really important for everything you do. Again, getting up off the floor, preventing back injuries. And as we get older, you're more likely to get some scoliosis or curvature of your back. And this is also going to help you if you're getting bone loss. So maybe Roy could go further, show us our bone model, and maybe explain more about the abs and how it protects the back.
Well, what's very important, and these models will give you a visual and a great idea as to what happens as people begin to lose their bone density, or when you fall into osteoporosis or osteopenia. And here I'm going to show you a closer picture of this, but this is the idea of what healthy bone looks like. It's very, very full. You can just barely see through it, as opposed to if you're looking at this model where it is much thinner, and in this case it's not as full and easier to break or to cause very serious issues. And when you are doing strength training, the muscle that protects these things, these bones, is what we're working on in order to not. I mean, it's like reversing this. We're not talking about reversing it. That's what strength training is going to do. Strength training is going to strengthen the muscle to protect what's going on here. So that's very important when it comes to that. And I have clients that have these issues right here, and I recommend you to speak to your health provider. But when I started experiencing clients like this, I resorted to a health provider on teaching me how does this work and how to not hurt people when doing this, and the best thing I can do to help them. So that's very important. And also what's important is people get a misconception that doing crunches is good for your core, and the core is way more sophisticated than that. When we're talking about getting core and core strength, yeah, you can do crunches and crunches and crunches, pulling on your neck while you're doing it and everything. But doing things that has to do with your core is we want to make sure that we're training everything from the pelvic area all the way up to the shoulder. So all of this being active in things such as planks, which you can start by keeping the bar low and building up to strengthen your core and your back. And another thing is, if you're clear to do so, being able to work twisting motions, which work your obliques, which wrap all the way around to your back, which will also strengthen your core just as much. So it's very important that you find a routine that will work your core in a way that is safe. After you talk to your providers, because there's certain exercises you shouldn't do if you are at this stage of your bone density.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned, Roy, with crunches, a lot of people tell me, oh, their neck hurts when they do crunches, but they're usually not doing the proper technique. So it's important that you get taught that. And yes, you can do other type of exercises for your abs, such as the planks. Roy mentioned the obliques, so those are for the lateral side muscles. Interestingly, patients come in and say a lot of times they have abdominal pain, but what they have is actually nerve root compression in these lateral muscles coming from the back. So that is a source of pain that people have, that they always think they have something in their abdomen, but it's actually nerve roots that are radiating through their oblique muscles. So all abdominal pain is actually not from your abdomen. So it's an interesting point that comes up that just reminded me.
Absolutely. And what I am going to do, maybe should have said this in the beginning or later on, but we will be doing podcasts on these exercises, and I'm also going to provide in the comment section or the description a link so that you can give you at least 3 of each of these areas that should be worked on. 3 exercises for each of these areas that we talked about in order to help you to strengthen these areas, these key areas when it comes to your health.
So you can see how to do them properly.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. The next area, which we get a lot of complaints about, and again, you start getting crickety or like the Tin Man as you get older, the hips and pelvis, especially in women. After childbearing, the hips and pelvis get stiff. There's pain into what we call iliopsoas area, some of these muscle groups that affect the hips. Now, the hips, a lot of people point to their hips, but then when I notice and I put some pressure along the outside of the thigh, it's also something called an iliotibial muscle, a muscle that connects the hip all the way down to the outside of your knee. So these are all part of a complex that attaches here, and it's because of the pelvis not being worked properly, and these muscles that also attach to the back of your back. So all these have to be worked properly, and your symmetry, it's all back to symmetry of these muscles. So, it's, again, very important that you're not just saying, oh, my hip hurts and I need to get a shot of my hip joint. It's really not that. Many times hip and back complaints are actually related to the muscle groups. Boy, I mean. Yeah,
of course. And when you're talking about the IT band and things like that, all that, she's saying all works together, because if you have an IT band issues and someone says they're going to stretch your IT band, it's not going to happen like that. It's all connected. You may have something else that you have to fix or to get flexible in order to release the pull on other parts of that area. And so we talk about using tools such as what is called the booty bands, where you put them around your hips and you do certain exercises in order to it's used to make you push your knees inward, but you're to fight the resistance of that while you're performing the movement. One of the movements can be squats, or the sit in chair and stand, I think is how you call it. And those exercises and not allowing your knees to collapse forces your hips to work. But if you allow your knees to collapse, then you're not doing your hips much justice. And that is the first indication of whether or not a person have weak hips, is when they squat or when they sit, if their knees collapse, because they're trying to save those hips and not use them because you're so weak, and everything else suffers because of that. So things like that, and doing what we call fire hydrants, being on all fours, kicking your leg outward. Bridges is another one, laying down, doing on your back and doing bridges. And I'm going to give you a demonstration of all of these. Another one, bird dogs.
Bird dog is great. I know that every time my back is out, bird dog really has helped me. Just for the muscles that it helps to rebalance. Bridging, you demonstrated in the pelvic floor, episode 3.
Absolutely.
Bridging is excellent for the pelvis, the abs, and the hips.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Roy is going to put out another video that has more specific exercises, some of which we're touching on today. The pelvic floor, that was alluded to in episode 3, but there are some other exercises. And again, the mainstay of AARP and Silver Sneakers is doing sit to stand, where you get up and you get down and your butt barely touches the seat, because that helps your stability of your whole body and it helps your balance as well. So it's really important to do all these, and balance is another thing that Roy's going to address later, a whole balance video.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
so this episode, we want to talk about how important the hands are. So your intrinsic muscles of your hands, the strength of your hands is actually an indicator of how well you're going to age. So as we get older, you may notice in your hands that they don't look as pulpy as they used to, for lack of a better word. They're not as thick. And if you look at the tendons of your hands going up from your fingers, there's not much meat between those tendons. We lose volume, just like we lose collagen everywhere else in our body. So with that, as you notice, you can't open a jar as well. You can actually help what's called grip strength. So it's important when you're just doing bicep curls or tricep extensions overhead, whichever method you use, you're not really helping the intrinsic muscles of your hands. But Roy, maybe you can tell us more about that.
Yeah. So what I have in the studio to help that, because she's correct. So if you're doing, let's just say, if you can imagine a straight bar and you're doing curls, and usually the bar, you wrap your fingers right around the bar, and it's not really helping those muscles. And I have what's called fat grips that go around the bar. You have to put your hands around it so that you cannot get your entire hands around it. It forces you to use hand strength, and things like that are very important for you to work on your grip, which is, I know that they give out these promotional things, these what they call stress balls or something like
squeezy balls.
Right, those help, but I think you need something a little more than that, because we're doing this with what purpose? One thing that Dr. Marraccini and I both agreed upon, and when I say this, we did not collaborate on choosing this. It just so happened that she was like, Roy, I think this is great for this and whatnot. And I pulled it out of my dad and said, I already got one of these, And so this is something that it's a device that helps with finger and hand strength. And so whether you're doing squeezing, and there are different weights of pressure when it comes to these. I don't know. I'll put some of it, but you can't see it. But there are different colors and different rings. And it also have these webby like things that you stick your fingers in, and you have to extend your hands or either spread them in order to give it that exercise. And these are exercises that you would not get if you're holding the bar doing curls or whatever, as Dr. Marraccini was saying.
You're going to show that to them. You're going to link it?
Yes, I am going to. I'm going to add a link just in case you may be interested in getting one of these, which you should be if you're trying to cover these key areas when it comes to being healthy, being stronger. These are just little things. I mean, you stroll online and you're doing your squeeze while you're strolling online, or whatever it is you're doing.
You can watch TV do it.
Right. And you make it into a routine, and it's not that your finger's going to get muscle bounded, but you will feel the difference when you need it. Right. So that is very important, and I think it's a very overlooked thing to do or to work out in as well. And like we said, you do it purposefully, you do get a good rhythm when doing it. Don't just go through the motions and everything. You do it with purpose, with rhythm, to cause the muscles or that area to improve. Sounds like something's done.
I think we're good for this episode, and we'll get some demonstrations
Absolutely.
for later episodes.
Absolutely. We want you, we don't call this Menno Strong for nothing, right? We want you to be stronger. I am here, she is here to make sure that we constantly remind you and to echo these things to you. You may hear the same thing on several podcasts, is because we cannot stress it enough how important these things are for us when we are aging and we're going through life, because core strength is very important. That's like one of the first things I hear in aging clients, that they want to increase their quality of life by their core strength. And no one wants to fall, because anything can happen once you hit the ground, right? We're talking about broken bones and this and that. And then when dealing with the neck and shoulders, we want to make sure that those are healthier than what they are now, because I can almost guarantee that every person that comes to see me got weak shoulders, or that come see me, I can see it when they walk in the door. They might have the curvage here or something, to whereas I have to work on those. I will tell you a quick story, Dr. Linda. I've had a client before that, and this is how serious this is. He detailed cars for a living, and so since he was a teenager, he's been doing the wax on, wax off thing. Always doing this, and his shoulders were so tight that he could not lift his arms above his head. Mm-hmm. Yet he wanted to come work out with me. And so I put all workouts aside to help fix that problem. And I gave him homework. And this was to the extent, I usually don't like to do this, but I had to do this for him, and it was for his own good, is that I told him that if you do not do these exercises on your own, and we do not get any improvement on your shoulders with flexibility, I am not going to train you. Because if you come in here and you get hurt, and now you've gotten hurt, now you can't make a living, and I don't want to be in that chain of responsibility when it comes to that. So I use that example, and I say that to say this, if you have those issues, you have to work on them. You can't work around them. You can't, what they say, sweep trash under the rug, so to speak. When it comes to that, you have to address them. And they're not even an elephant in the room in some cases, but you have to address them. So that's very important, to be able to work on these key areas that Dr. Marraccini feels that is very important for all of us, but especially for those that are going through menopause and perimenopause, because we want to see you get better. We want to see you increase your way of living, a life for you to be able to enjoy life as we age. So that's very important.
Well, let's not forget dignity.
Yeah.
So every time a patient falls, they're embarrassed.
Oh yeah.
So somebody has to pick them up off the floor, and most of us ladies, we actually don't. We want to feel as good as we look. A lot of us try to look good as we get older, and when you fall on the floor, you feel old. And so at first you don't want to hurt yourself, and second of all, you want a little dignity. You want to fall on the floor, and so it's about your dignity as well. So we want to preserve that.
Absolutely. So we're here for you. We would appreciate your comments. We appreciate you being a part of the conversations, or whatever we talk about, whatever we do a podcast about. Reach out if you have some things that you want us to talk about, or someone who can be of some benefit to this movement of Menno Strong. We're all ears. We want to hear that. However, or whichever platform that you are experiencing this podcast, this episode, don't forget that we're on Spotify and we're on YouTube. And if you're on any one of those, do us a favor, become a follower. Follow this podcast and the movement, and let's turn it into something great, because especially if you're in Miami, Florida, we are local. We are within your reach. Okay, we may not be celebrities where you won't be able to get to us, but we are here for you. And like I said before, how much skin in the game would I possibly have, being that I don't have to experience that, but I do care about people. Dr. Marraccini, I know she cares about people, and we care about you, and we want you to get stronger, to get better. We want you to be mental strong. So until next time, have a great day, weekend, whatever it is, and practice what we've already spoken about. Okay? Till next time.